Okay, so before we get into the actual video, did you guys hear? Well, I'm a little late, but did you guys hear that Alex Kappa retired? Yeah, guard of the Bucks. Kind of shocking. He was young. He was only 28, and just another key player that the Bucks lost this offseason. I don't know what they're gonna do to recover with the little cap, with the limited cap that they have. Let's get into the video. I looked at the top 20 free agents according to PFF, and I predicted where they're gonna go. Okay, so to start it off, we're going to be looking at Devontae Adams, receiver of the Green Bay Packers. And, well, it depends on who you ask. Could be a surprise, could not, but I don't think he's going to stay in Green Bay. Not great cap space for Green Bay. They're like second least amount of cap, and they are struggling in cap. And I just don't think they're going to be able to pay such a big name receiver. Probably, no, not probably. Definitely the best receiver in the league. So, you know where I think he's going to go? This team, they had a breakout receiver, but I think they could use another guy, and that's the Raiders. Him and Derek Carr already have, like, college chemistry. He's already said that he wanted to play with Derek Carr. So there's no reason he shouldn't go to the Raiders. And this would make the Raiders a much more deadly team if they were able to scoop up a player like Devontae Adams. They have the cap to do it. They just need to execute. Up next, Teron Armstead, tackle for the New Orleans Saints. I don't think I have to tell any NFL fan that the Saints are actually awful in cap. Like, their cap management is something else. So, I don't think that he'll stay there. But I do think there's two teams. More likely team, he'll probably go to the Bengals. They have the cap to do it. Their biggest need is offensive line, as seen in the Super Bowl and that entire playoffs. Getting Joe Burrow protection has to be a priority this offseason, and that's where I think he's gonna go. Or he could go to my Dolphins, because that's another team. They hired a coach that is a run scheming heavy coach, so they could easily. They could get an offensive lineman. They're number one in cap space. They can do it. All right. Up next is Chris Godwin. Another guy I don't think is going to be staying on his team. But last season, I didn't think he's going to stay on the Bucks. And there was a team that I thought was going to get him. That was going to be the Jets. Very good on cap space. I'm not surprised. They're the Jets. Who do they have to pay? And I really think that they need to help Zach Wilson. So how about it? Go after it, Jets. And another team is the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, Pittman's good, but I think another guy to go aside him, especially since they can be a really good team if with the right parts. And I think Chris Godwin is one of those parts that they can add. Up next, another receiver is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is a really, 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 really underused receiver. I think that's the best way to put it. And I think he needs to go to a team that will use him, and that team will be the Lions. Another guy to go alongside a breakout rookie receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had a great second half of the year. But I think they'll want another guy on the side of him, a guy who can catch contested balls for Jared Goff. And I think it's going to be Allen Robinson. They have the cap space to do it, and I think they should go after him. Up next is Von Miller. Now, there's two places he can go. He can stay on the Rams, which is very likely, and just continue to help that defense, or he can go to the Titans. The Titans desperately need, not desperately, but they need pass rushers. They need to build up that defense. And yes, they did statistically have the best run defense in the league, but I think they need better pass rushers, like guys to get after the quarterback. And I think Von Miller could be a great player for them to sign this offseason. They were the one seed last season of a very unhealthy team. I think they need to add Von Miller, and they would be a much better team. Up next is Chandler Jones, and I think he stays in Arizona. No brainer about that. He's one of their best players, and I think he'll stay there. And I don't really know anywhere else that he would go. Another player I think is going to stay on their team is J.C. Jackson. Very, very, very big part of that Pats defense and why they were so good last year. And I really do think that the Pats desperately need to sign J.C. Jackson. They need to keep that defense going. They need to keep those parts of that defense. J.C. Jackson is probably the biggest part of it. So, Matthew Judon's the biggest part of it. J.C. Jackson's second biggest part of that defense. So, yeah. Orlando Brown, tackle for the Chiefs, could go two places. He could stay in Kansas City. Right? He plays for the Chiefs, right? Yeah. Plays for the Chiefs, not the Ravens anymore. He could stay on the Chiefs. Or he can go to the Bengals. As I've already said, Bengals need O linemen. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and signed Orlando Brown. Up next is Marcus Williams, safety for the Saints. Any good player the Saints have this season that is a free agent, they're not getting back. But a team that needs him, the Jets. Marcus May, I think, is really underrated and a really good safety. But another guy to go alongside of him, like Marcus Williams, especially with that cap space they have, sign them up. But another team that could use him is Dallas. They got burnt over the top a lot. And it does help when you have Trayvon Diggs. But somebody else to help, secure the over-the-top bombs that teams like to throw on Dallas would definitely be a good signing for Dallas. Up next is Mike Williams, and I think he's just going to stay on the Chargers. I don't see why they would let him walk. All right, hold on, let me flip my page. Up next, we got Jesse Bates. I think he stays in the Bengals. Have the cap space to do it. Keep your star player. They could franchise tag him. They can do whatever they want with him. Just keep Jesse Bates. That's all I say. Next up, Jadeveon Clowney. There's two places he can go. He could stay in Cleveland, which I think is the less likely scenario. All right. The other option is he can go to Miami. Miami was one of the teams trying to get him last season, and they didn't. But this season, I think they will. I think we need edge rushers desperately. Not desperately. Why do I keep saying desperately? I think we need edge rushers to get after the quarterback in our blitz-heavy scheme that we like to run. Well, I don't know how our scheme's going to look next season with new defensive coordinators. But I think pass rushers will be key. Another guy to go alongside of Emmanuel Ogbah would be huge. Up next is Randy Gregory, defensive tackle for the Cowboys. I thought he was really good. I just don't think the Cowboys can pay him. So for those reasons, I think he can go one of two places. He can go to Seattle. Seattle needs D tackles. They need people to stuff up that interior line. They need people to get pressure. They really struggled with that last season. Randy Gregory is that guy. Or we've seen this guy a lot already on this list. The Jets. The Jets have cap space, like a lot of it. I don't think they're gonna sign all these guys, but I think they'll at least sign two of these guys. Randy Gregory probably won't need a lot on his contract, at least compared to what they have. So I think the Jets can easily get him. They need everything, so any good player they can get. Up next is Carlton Davis. I think the Bucs losing all these players. One of the guys they have to keep is Carlton Davis, young corner for that secondary. Really need to keep him after losing so much on that offensive side. Keep your defense alive, and you can still be a playoff team. Up next, Odell. When I made this, I didn't really consider that Odell's injured. I'll say he stays on the Rams, but it's very much likely they can let him walk because of his injury. Up next, we got Stephon Gilmore. I don't think the Panthers keep him. Their secondary is actually really good, and I don't think they see the purpose of him. So he can either go to the 49ers because that defense I think they need cornerback help. They got good safeties. They can get one lockdown corner. That would be fantastic for the 49ers. Or they can go to the Jets because the Jets need it. I don't think he's going to go to the Jets. The Jets just need it. I don't blame him if he doesn't want to go to the Jets. I think he's more likely to go to the Niners. Up next is Brandon Sheriff. I think the Dolphins can get him, but I think the more likely scenario he goes to New York. New York will probably be willing to put more on him. Remember what they did with Kenny Galladay? Yeah, that's probably what they're going to do with Brandon Sheriff. So, yeah. Up next is Tyrann Mathieu. I think he stays in Kansas City. I think that's a no-brainer. Stay in Kansas City. You guys are already Super Bowl contenders. You have no reason to leave. Up next is Jameis Winston of the New Orleans Saints. He's gonna stay there. I don't think he's gonna need a lot on his contract. He hasn't really proved anything to get a massive contract extension. He's coming off a season-ending injury. But yeah. Finally, Hassan Reddick, one of the better players of that Cardinals defense. I think he stays in Arizona. So that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.